This podcast contains adult language and stories of true crime. If you don't like laughing, crying, or being horrified at the actions of other humans, this podcast is not for you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Resolved Mysteries Podcast. This is a podcast where we watch episodes of unsolved mysteries. We each take a case or two and provide updates. Our episode numbers follow along with the episode numbers on Amazon Prime, so it's easy to know which one to watch. To see photos we reference in the episode, follow us on Instagram at @re_solved mysteries, on Facebook and Twitter at Resolve the Pod. You can contact us at resolvedmysteriesPodcast.com.
Also, we have a Patreon now.
Yay!
Yay! Go to patreon.com/Resolved Mysteries Podcast to check out all our different Patreon levels and engage with other patrons over there. We will be putting out at least 2 episodes a month that are strictly Patreon only. So if you can't get enough of us,
which totally,
how can you not?
Then shell out some money and you can.
This is not an unconditional relationship.
Then you can get too much of us. In keeping, what am I saying?
Harkening
back to
the Patreon thing that we were talking about 2 seconds ago. We would like to thank the following patrons: Brittany K, Christopher M, Erica S, Holly S, Ian G, Cuff, Megan C, and Meggie O. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. That's as of we're recording this mid-February. So there might be more of you who have subscribed and you will get a shout out next time.
Totally. Thank you so much for being the first people to subscribe to us. Oh my God.
Yeah. Thank you.
So exciting.
All right. And if you like us, please rate and review on iTunes. This month, for every review we receive, we're going to donate $1 to LGBT Youth Line in Toronto. Thank you to Marnie Renee on Facebook for suggesting that we're going to be donating to them in honor of the victims of Bruce McArthur.
Fucking lunatic.
Ugh,
yeah.
Horrible. Episode 14, part 1, honeys.
Ooh. Oh, right. Because this is a two-parter.
Yeah. It's a beefy-sode.
Yeah, this one has on Amazon Prime. Gross.
Allison really didn't like that.
I don't want a beefy-sode.
Sorry.
On Amazon Prime, episode 14 was 6 segments, so we decided to split it into 2. This one has 3, and the next one will have 3 too. 3 also.
In this episode, part 1 of 14, we are going to be covering the following cases. What's the first one?
Jeremy Bright is mine. I'm doing segment 1. This is Eliza, and it's about a 14-year-old named Jeremy Bright who goes missing in Coos County, Oregon in 1986.
I'm doing segment 2. This is Alison, and it is the unexplained death of Patrolman John Martin.
I have the last segment. I'm Karlin, obviously.
This
That's
is so
the only
awkward.
option
I hate
left.
it.
I don't
want to do that.
It's like an icebreaker thing in class.
Well,
Yeah.
people still need to know whose name is
No,
who.
you're right. They do. I'm going to be talking about Dan Willens. It's a Lost Heirs segment, and he's a old-timey prospector
Rich.
who
struck it big.
and disappeared.
Disappear.
Okay. That's
right.
as good as it gets.
You're welcome.
If you haven't turned it off by now.
If you haven't turned it off by now, then awesome. Hang in.
Okay.
Everything's terrible.
No, everything's great.
But thank God we have a promo
sure do.
Nice.
for a super cute podcast called Let's Talk OC. Listen for that. Stick around.
After segment 3.
Yeah, I think we're going to do it after segment 3 before Sharesy Feelsies.
So stick around for all of it. Mm-hmm. Here we go. All right. First segment of episode 14 is a missing persons case. It first aired on January 18th, 1989. And this is the story of Jeremy Bright. Jeremy Bright was 14 years old in the summer of 1986. He grew up in Myrtle Point, Oregon for most of his childhood, which is like southern beachy town. He was creative, well-liked, and enjoyed playing basketball. But his mother and stepfather separated, and when that happened, Jeremy moved with his mother and sister to Grants Pass, Oregon. But a special part of his childhood summers was attending the Coos County Fair, which came to Myrtle Point each August. Side note, I was interested to see if the Coos County Fair still happens, especially with what maybe happened there, which you'll hear about. And it does, and it has been going on since 1912.
Oh my God, let's go.
That, yeah.
I think it's one of the longest running fairs in the country. So although he had moved away, Jeremy and his sister ST, which is S''Te.
That's
it's a
her
French
name?
name. ST.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Went to stay with their stepfather Orville, or Oli, as he's called in the episode, but I'm pretty sure Ollie is how you would say that. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a nightmare name segment. What's happening?
Sorry.
Yeah, I think they called him Oli in the
They
thing.
did.
Yeah.
But his name is Orville. This is the man who Jeremy's mother had broken up with, but they still went to stay down there with him while the fair was going on so the kids could attend. So this is in August of 1986. All right, you ready?
So ready.
On Thursday, August 14th, Jeremy called his mother, who was presumably in Grants Pass, not there with them, to check in with her and tell her he was going to the fair at around 4:45 p.m. Several witnesses saw Jeremy at the fair with his sister ST and a close friend named Johnny Fish. That evening, at around 9:40, Jeremy went to the local tavern that was owned by his grandmother.
That's awesome.
Which I'm assuming is his step-grandmother, because he went there to meet Ollie or Oli
Yeah.
or Orville,
Right.
his stepfather.
Let's just call him Olio.
Olio. He asked Olio for some money for the fair and was given a few dollars. And this is the last time anyone in his family would see him. So the next day was Friday, and it seems like Oli, went to work all day and assumed the kids were at the fair again, so he didn't see the kids that day. I'm confused on this, but also I guess it's 1986 and kids stayed away all day and didn't think anything of it.
I have a question. You go to a fair more than one day?
Oh, these
Oh,
kids
yes,
do.
honey.
They're in it, honey.
We even did as kids in the stupid little town fair we had.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it seems like so we'll get into this. It's weird, but it seems like also his sister ST would have realized he wasn't around, or his friend Johnny would have realized he wasn't around. But
Yeah, what happened
no
to
one
Johnny
says
Fish?
anything about that, like about Friday for him. So then the next day, on Saturday, their mother Diane came to pick them up to take him and ST back to Grants Pass. When she got to Orville's house, she found Jeremy's wallet, keys, and a new watch sitting by the TV. She didn't think he could have gone far because he would never have left those things behind. And she also assumed possibly that he was at the fair again. So she just wasn't that worried. And then when he didn't return like late that evening, she finally called the police. So at this point, he's been missing since Thursday night, but no one has put the pieces together since Saturday night. So he's been missing for over 2 days.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So this is all in the segment, and then the theories are also in the segment, so I'll talk about those. The first theory was that Jeremy loved the fair so much that he ran away with, or like wanted to run away with them.
Yeah.
So he hid in with the carnival people.
Literally, their first option that they thought about and talked about on UM was that maybe he became a carny.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, did that really happen a lot at some point?
Seems like a big trope in the 80s. Like, I'm going to run away with the...
I think it was before that, because I would think that the 80s, you would absolutely not do something like
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
But during the
60s
Great
and
Depression,
70s.
or like
Oh,
during the
way
Great Depression,
earlier.
like way earlier,
That's true.
because you would just kind of, you didn't have any work, so you
Right.
would just join whoever was coming through.
But
Yeah.
not a 14-year-old boy.
No,
in
and
the
not
80s.
in 1986.
No,
Yeah,
that's true.
like,
I know. And Stack said they thought he had succumbed to the romantic lure of the carnival.
ew, there is
How can
nothing
you not?
romantic about
Ew.
a fucking carnival.
Nope.
Oh, and we will post a screen grab of Stack next to a carousel, which is how he introduces this
Yes.
segment. Yeah, so I can't imagine how infuriating that would be as his mother. Like, no, that's not what happened. Next theory, please.
Yeah.
Really. Can we not spend another minute on that?
Yeah. So no evidence was ever found to support this theory, and his family never ever believed that's something that could possibly happen. So then rumors began to swirl. It's a small town. People just start talking. And I feel like we've seen cases like this before where kids start to talk about what they saw or think they saw, but everything gets convoluted and totally unclear, and no one actually goes to the police about anything. So it's just a big rumor mill. Plus, he's been missing 2 days, so that always hinders an investigation. It's just frustrating. So
And with the two sets of parents, it's like
Yeah, who knows?
somebody could have thought he was with the other or whatever.
Yes, so many things. And then along with the police inaction, the lack of forensic technology or education, it's just never good. Like, I don't think cases like this happen anywhere near as much now because
Well,
technology is so different.
yeah, like there's CC codes or get television everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll explain more about how this would just not happen now. So it's just a cluster. And I thought maybe Unsolved Mysteries should have been called Cluster Mysteries or Unsolved Clusters or...
Resolved clusterfucks.
Dang it. Why didn't we
missed
call our
it.
podcast that?
Damn it.
So during the week of the fair, there were always a lot of parties going on because it was also kind of an end of summer celebration.
Jesus Christ.
All about that fair.
It's the biggest week of the year,
love it.
apparently. It's rumored that Jeremy attended one of those parties and was offered a beer that may have been laced with something that either knocked him out or killed him. And this is in the reenactment. These two asshole guys are handing him this open beer and he starts to die. And then Jeremy reportedly did have a heart murmur, and that perhaps that made him more susceptible to dying from whatever substance could have been in the beer.
Sure.
So KB, be careful.
Okay, don't lace my beer.
She's like, I don't take drinks from strangers.
Yeah, also that. I will
Yeah.
take my beer to the bathroom with me. Thank you very much.
I know
She's
you
like,
will.
Come
For
on.
other reasons.
So another theory, it doesn't ever say exactly who, but some jail inmate told police that he knew what happened to Jeremy Bright and that the week of the carnival.
Carnival.
A whole week of cannibals.
That was Jeffrey Dahmer's favorite time of year.
Nice.
Sorry,
Good one.
sorry, everyone.
The week of the carnival, so probably on Friday the 15th, since when this that I'm about to say happens was during the daylight hours, 3 local teenagers were apparently harassing Jeremy and his friends while they were swimming in the Coquille River.
I forgot about this.
That reenactment is
Oh,
insane.
Yep.
Oh my God.
So the teenagers had a gun and were apparently target shooting into the river near Jeremy where he was swimming, and then maybe purposefully or accidentally shot him. In the reenactment, Jeremy gets shot and blood starts coming up. It's like full on Jaws.
Yes.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Bigger blood budget.
Oh, number 2. So, bigger blood budget, number 2, not poop.
I was like, yikes.
But definitely not poop, just to clarify.
And then the theory was that those teenagers felt bad about shooting him, took him back to a secret cabin because he was still alive, and tried to nurse him back to health. But he eventually died from his injuries, and they buried him in the woods near the cabin.
So they didn't feel that bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, if this happened, this seems so unlikely because why would the other kids, like in the reenactment, it's Jeremy and a bunch of other kids, and then all of a sudden the other kids are gone when Jeremy's dying.
It's a bunch of girls, and the girls all run out of the water when they see the gun,
But
and
why,
he just
why
stays.
would they not say
it's
something?
so weird.
It just doesn't seem possible. Authorities apparently searched the area that the teenagers allegedly kept and buried Jeremy and found nothing. So that could have been a total nothing story from a jailhouse informant who was lying. Who knows? So for Diane Bright, who is Jeremy's mom, the rumors about her missing son were difficult to handle. She says, quote, "All of them are hard to think about. Every time I'd hear a new one, I have nightmares for a week or so. The one that I hope is not what happened is one where he suffered for 2 weeks before he died and they buried his body because the thought of him suffering for 2 weeks just makes me sick." So if that one isn't true, it's so sad to even put that out there because that's awful.
Yeah.
So then authorities talked to Johnny's sister. So Johnny Fish is the boy who was one of his best friends that he was at the fair with. They talked to his sister Cecilia.
Who has a relationship with a hair crimper.
Oh, heavy.
Like,
She's deep in
hardcore.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
She said that on the day after Jeremy vanished, which would supposedly be Friday, the 15th, between midnight and 1 a.m., she and a friend were leaving her other sister's apartment, or her sister's apartment, when they ran into a neighborhood teen with blood all over his clothes. And this is also in a reenactment. They're totally shocked. They ask what happened, and he's like laughing and very nonchalant about it, and he looks down, he's like, "Oh, this happened hours ago." It's like, there's still blood all over you. It doesn't matter when it happened.
Yeah.
Feel free to keep explaining.
Looking
Yeah.
like Carrie after the prom.
And so, so he just keeps laughing and then goes into another apartment. It's unclear if police ever followed up up on this lead to look forensically, to look at the bloody shirt, to question the teenager more. So a half hour later, Johnny, Cecilia's brother, Jeremy's best friend, arrived at his other sister's apartment. He was shaking and terrified of something, but refused to say what had happened. There are several reports, actually, of Johnny being distraught on either Thursday or Friday. Those reports vary. But either way, he's totally unable to share what he's upset about and never divulges any details.
Oh, no.
Some believe that Johnny was there the night whatever happened, witnessed something horrible, and then started to have like major panic attacks about it. And then people like later said Johnny was never the same after whatever happened to Jeremy. He apparently began having nightmares and developed a serious alcohol addiction.
Oh my God.
And then he was eventually homeless and had, quote, mental breakdowns.
Oh, that's like PTSD, like
Yeah.
classic PTSD. He saw something.
And then when questioned over the years, he would say he remembers the night Jeremy disappeared up to a certain point and then blacks out.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So then I found an online chat board about Jeremy's case. And a user claiming to be Cecilia, Johnny's sister, wrote this, but I don't know if this is her because Johnny is spelled Jonny and his name was with an H. So, But she says, quote, I believe that Johnny was there and witnessed whatever happened to Jeremy. Johnny was never the same after that night. I believe that Johnny was threatened with his family being next if he ever told. I tried many times to get Johnny to remember, but he couldn't. He has been a mental case ever since that night. I think something happened to him also, but he has suppressed it so deep in his mind he can't tell what happened to them that night. I wish someone would tell what happened. It was David Steinhoff that I ran into that night, and he was covered in blood. I don't think he was in a fight. There was too much blood for that. So the guy laughing in the apartment is a man named David Steinhoff, and I'll get back to him a little bit later.
This is crazy.
Yeah, sorry. Now this is like kind of past the episode.
Well, and I was also thinking if the drugged beer was a thing, maybe Johnny was too, and that's why
Yeah,
he
that's
doesn't
true.
remember anything.
Yes, that's a good point. That's true. Like it was a true blackout, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is past where the episode is. When the episode segment ends, it just is basically like there's no update. They know nothing.
Yeah.
So at the time, ST, Jeremy's sister, remembers informing police that she had seen Jeremy talking to two guys that she did not recognize at the fair. She says, quote, for whatever reason, the officer I talked to didn't believe me. They thought I was making up a story to help out, but I had seen him leave with these people. He did.
Oh my God.
So it's like people she doesn't recognize, she's saying he left with them.
And they're saying you're lying.
Yeah, she's just saying she felt like the officers didn't believe her. So Steinhoff, remember that name? David Steinhoff is the one who came in covered in blood. His cousin is named Terry Lee Steinhoff, and Terry Lee Steinhoff had babysat Jeremy and his sister when they were little and lived in Myrtle Point full time.
Okay.
And then I just want to interject. I'm sorry, but do not ever let men babysit your children. And also, have you watched Abducted in Plain Sight? And have you listened to a Canadian True Crimes episode on teen boys who kill?
Oh, no.
Like, just don't do it. They should not be allowed to watch children alone.
Agreed.
Hashtag not all men, maybe, but also, God.
Hashtag not all male babysitters. But
True. They're cousins. They're connected. And it's thought that maybe they both had something to do with whatever happened to Jeremy. In 1989, it had been 3 years since Jeremy had disappeared, and this is when this segment on Unsolved Mysteries airs and kind of renews interest in the case and brought renewed attention to the rumors about Terry Lee Steinhoff. Steinhoff was charged with stabbing a woman named Patricia Morris in 1988, so the year before. He's clearly like violent and
Oh my God.
possibly had tendencies to kill a little boy. She
and
was
a member of the Babysitters Club.
Patricia Morris was a 32-year-old mother who had rebuffed his advances, and he left her for dead. There had been rumors at the time of Jeremy's disappearance that he was seen with Terry Lee Steinhoff. Now, when St, his sister, said, I saw him getting into the car with two people, she said she didn't recognize them, but she knew Terry, so she would have recognized him.
Right.
But not his brother.
Or his cousin David. Yeah, possibly. So that's a little weird. Several witnesses reported seeing Jeremy sitting with Terry Steinhoff the night he went missing in his truck.
What?
But who knows, like so much of this either seems like
conjecture,
or it's dark and they can't really tell. And
Yeah. But the mom did say on the episode that in all of the different rumors, the same names kept coming
yes. Yeah.
up. So
that's not a coincidence.
No. Well, and that's kind of why in the reenactment, it's all those same boys acting as reenactors,
Yeah.
like either shooting him or
Right.
giving him the beer. I couldn't find anywhere those people's names, which is interesting. It seems like they're like protected or something, or just you can't find them.
Maybe their age.
Like when it happened. Yeah,
Oh.
maybe. Terry Lee Steinhoff was questioned about that, and he was never cooperative with the investigation into Jeremy's disappearance. Okay, he did kill her. Sorry. He pled guilty to murder and was sentenced to life in prison, and he died in prison in 2007
Bye.
of a drug overdose, apparently.
Oh, my God.
Ugh.
Yeah. He never revealed any information about the disappearance of Jeremy, and everyone had kind of held out hope that maybe there would be some kind of jailhouse confession or deathbed confession, but he didn't, if he was responsible or knew something. So, guys, that's all.
What the
No.
Yeah, due to the lack of evidence in Jeremy's case, it is classified still as a non-family abduction and potential homicide. His family believes he's deceased, and they did hold a memorial service for him not until August 2011,
Oh, wow.
What the
on the 25th anniversary of his disappearance. And Jeremy's mother, Diane, believes that his body is still somewhere in Coos County, and his case is unsolved.
Wow.
Yeah.
You might be right that it has to do with the age of the suspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like their information is.
Yeah, because Terry Lee Steinhoff was out there, but he was older.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's
Whoa.
depressing.
I thought that was going to last for like another 25 minutes.
No,
Yeah.
it's quick. It's interesting too because in the reenactment, or in Robert Stack's introduction of it, he's very much like someone in Myrtle Point, Oregon knows something, which he does a lot. But
Yeah.
you can tell he really thought that this segment was going to give the family answers,
Right.
And it didn't.
God.
That's horrible.
I wonder if it's like kind of like the Jenny Pratt, Curtis Croft thing where like the town is really small and it's insular and like,
Yeah.
you know, people know stuff, but they just don't fucking talk.
Or
Or they
just
talk
so-
in all this gossipy roundabout
Exactly.
stuff.
It's hard to follow a lead because
Yeah.
everybody's hearing something from someone else and talking about it that they don't really know anything about.
Totally.
But if his friend was that messed up after, like, that's not a coincidence.
No.
There's no way that
And do
that
you
is a
remember the
coincidence.
reenactment of him? He's like sitting in that chair shaking and crying.
Oh
And
my God. That's so terrible.
yeah, it's really sad. So I was sad that there was nothing good to tell you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Sorry.
sad too.
Shit.
That's
All
it.
right.
The end. I want a Corona. It looks tasty.
I have another.
Well, I don't want to take your only other
I
Corona.
have another beer in there too.
Well, it just
And I
seems
can
like
drink-
seems like we're on a beach.
Yeah.
It's like a beach towel.
It's a very beach moment over there.
Okay, so this is the second segment, and it is the unexplained death of Patrolman John Lee Martin. Early on the morning of Friday, November 4th, 1988, John Martin, a 17-year-old, yeah. He was a baby cop. A baby cop. It was so cute. Nope. A 17-year veteran of Lee County, the Virginia Sheriff's Office Department, was making his rounds when he saw a suspicious vehicle parked behind the Lee County Health Clinic in Ewing, Virginia. At around 3 a.m., he approached the vehicle, but the person began to drive out of the parking lot. So Martin followed the car and pulled it over. He informed the dispatch of the situation, and he walked toward the car. As he was about to ask for the driver's ID, the driver opened fire on him with a .44 caliber pistol. He returned fire and he struck the vehicle, which ends up being very important. But he was severely injured and unable to move. He didn't respond to the dispatcher, a nearby patrolman was sent to check on him, and the officer found Martin mortally wounded. In the reenactment, it seems like he's like whispering the last moments,
Yeah.
but he was alive for 3 days. So Martin stayed conscious long enough to give a description of the vehicle and the suspect before being taken to the hospital. He had been shot 3 times and he died from his injuries 3 days later on November 7th. He left behind a wife and 3 or 4 children. I think UM says 4 children, but then someone makes reference to his 3 children later. So on November 10th, he was laid to rest with full honors. Police officers from 7 states and hundreds of area residents came to pay their final respects.
And they have real footage of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And his killer remains at large. So they give a breakdown of the suspect based on what Officer Martin said. A Caucasian male with a mustache in his mid-20s that was driving a light brown or tan Buick with the license plate in the back window. The car was most likely a model from the late 1970s. The license plate read Land Lincoln, which is the motto of the state of Illinois, which I thought it was Nebraska, but
Yeah.
no, he's from Illinois, Lincoln, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nebraska probably wasn't even a state when Lincoln
Oh,
was
yeah,
born.
maybe not.
I have no idea.
He said the registration, like the tag numbers from the plate weren't visible because it was in the back window. So the show update on November 5th, 1988, Effingham, Illinois police impounded a stolen car burned beyond recognition. Inside, they found evidence that it was the car driven by the officer's killer. The car was discovered to have 3 bullet holes in it, and it wasn't until several weeks later that the car was connected to the murder. And the bullet holes were determined to have been caused by John's gun, which is so fucking cool.
Yes.
It's cool, especially that it was burned beyond recognition.
Yeah,
that they
but
were
you
still
can't-
able to tell that.
Yeah, like
Because-
you can't burn a bullet hole.
Yeah. Who knows what the evidence was inside the
Yeah.
car, but otherwise, who knows if they would have been able to tie it to him.
I know.
At
I wonder
all.
how they even found it.
Well, I mean, like, as we'll see, the evidence is a burned car with 3 bullet holes. So
Yeah.
if you are a defense attorney, you've got a lot to work with.
Yeah.
After the connection to the murder was made, the car was linked to 24-year-old David Wayne Mills. Investigators searched his home and found evidence that connected him to the crime. We're going to come back to that. When Mills returned home later that day, he was arrested. He told investigators that he was present when Martin was shot, but that he didn't do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
so maddening.
I know.
And I'm sorry, but like if a dying man can tell you the few things he remembered about the guy,
Wouldn't
he would
say there
remember
were
there was another
2?
guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, oh my God, this guy. Mills is such a piece of shit. He's just like grasping at anything that he can
Totally.
to not get the death penalty because you shot a police officer
Oh, right.
in Virginia. Like,
Yeah, bye.
you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Mills also led investigators to a .44 caliber pistol, even though he wasn't the one that shot
Yeah, no, of
Officer
course
John
not.
Martin. Okay. So on January 5th, he was extradited to Virginia to face first-degree murder charges. In the end, a jury found that Mills acted alone in the murder and convicted him. He was sentenced to life plus 15 years. So that date isn't too crazy, but it's a little fun because it proves that any of us can help solve a mystery.
Ooh.
First of all, in December, Lee County Sheriff Chadwell said that he believed Unsolved Mysteries could bolster the chances of finding the killer. He said about 30% of cases featured on UM are solved, and that was in '88, and the number would continue to grow.
Fun. Love it.
A film crew visited Lee County in December and planned to air the episode in early 1989. But before the episode aired, a break in the case occurred in Illinois. The family of David Wayne Mills had moved to Effingham County, Illinois in October of 1988. There, the family contacted a man named Floyd Barlow, who was in the home security business, and they hired him to repair a burglary alarm system that had been installed in the home and to install smoke detectors. On December 27th, 1988, while working in the home, in the ceiling joints in the basement where Barlow was installing the wiring for a smoke detector, he discovered a box of .44 caliber ammunition, a ski mask, a money bag from a bank in Middlesboro, Kentucky, and an Illinois automobile dealer's tag.
Can you imagine?
I mean, what dream.
Like finding the bag of email letters blew our minds. Can you
Yes.
imagine finding that?
I found 2 letters in like my crawl space one time and I lost my
Yes.
fucking mind. Like,
Yes.
seriously? Oh my God. I know. When will this happen to one of us? We just want it too bad. We want it too bad. Like, this guy's just
Yeah,
like,
we have
True.
to
We need to
stop
chill the
wanting
fuck
it.
out
yeah,
and
we
we'll find
have to
something.
like pull it back from the universe and maybe then it will happen. But the
Yeah.
3 of us are so desperate. Like, it's not cute at
We've
this
been
point.
crawling around basements and attics for years.
I have been ripping
Nothing.
ceilings down my entire life. No, I'm just kidding. While working in David Mills's bedroom, he also observed a .38 caliber handgun in an open top dresser drawer.
What is that? Just no top on your dresser?
No, like the top of the drawer, the top of the dresser drawer was open. So it's like your drawer's open.
Oh.
The top drawer of the dresser was open. He looked inside and he found some shit.
I hope, but
Keep
but
going.
here's my hope. I hope it wasn't pulled out. I hope he did open it. I hope
that's-
then he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna start looking for some shit now."
Well, so there is no, it's only his word.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, you're a defense attorney. You're like,
Yeah. He's like, it was for sure already open.
yeah, he's like, you know how everyone just leaves their dresser drawers open when people come over to install shit?
Yeah.
Strangers
Especially
are coming
with
over.
guns. If you got a gun, you want to show it off, you know.
Well,
but be
babysitters
cool.
aren't the only riflers.
Oh, I hope he was a true rifler.
Oh, I love a rifler. Later that day, Barlow, who, oops, guys, former police officer. So, like, he was just like, what up? Calls the fucking sheriff. And the sheriff's name is Art Kinkler. That's it.
Wait, what was it? She has it spelled out
Phonetically. 'Cause I'm scared
Oh.
of always being wrong. I think his
did it
name
good.
is Art Kinkler of the Effingham County Sheriff's Department. So he called him and he was like,
Guess whatever.
yeah, that's all. And then he provided the sheriff with a sketch of the Mills' home and the location of the items. Can you imagine the scenario? Like him just like sitting down being like, all right, so there's the fucking bedroom, right?
Yep.
That's the basement. And then that's the joint where I found
And this is the drawer that I pulled open and found this stuff in.
if there is a heaven, that's what it is for me. Just finding shit and
Also-
telling people about it.
Wait, what's the perpetrator guy's name? The shooter?
Mills?
Mills is just the most unlucky.
Yeah, he is. He is very unlucky.
Like that's the wrong
He's probably
person
like,
to have come in your house.
Come on,
Yeah.
Mom. We don't need any more smoke detectors. Like...
Little did he know.
Little did he know. So Sheriff Kinkler contacted law enforcement authorities in Middlesboro, Kentucky, because of the money bag. So based on that, they referred him to the Sheriff's Department in Lee County, Virginia. From a contact with the Lee County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Kinkler learned of the facts surrounding Deputy Martin's death, and he was like, okay, this is Mills. Well, it says he regarded Mills, but I'm sure he was like, it's fucking him.
Yeah.
So, January 4th, 1989, Sheriff Kinkler again spoke with Floyd Barlow, and he said, are you done with your job, or do you got to go back?
Yes.
Quote, if he was going to go back to the Mills' residence, if he would observe and see if the items he saw initially were still there. Barlow informed the sheriff that he had not completed his job at the Mills home.
No.
So on January 5th, 1989, Barlow re-entered the Mills home to complete his work.
Oh.
He was able to observe the items in the ceiling joists again during the course of his work. He related the information to the sheriff, and Kinkler obtained a search warrant for the Mills' home based in part, or all part, on Barlow's information. Kinkler, executed a search warrant, seized the items, and then while they were searching the house, Mr. Unlucky David Wayne Mills came home, and they were like, you're arrested. Let us.
Oh my God.
I know. It's a fucking delight. So, Mills was indicted in Lee County, Virginia for the murder of Deputy Martin, use of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and attempted burglary. During interrogations, police said that Mills admitted to having being involved in the death. He implicated another person. They interviewed the other person. That person was never charged. So, again, most likely a lie. He was later convicted of first-degree murder. He received a life sentence, which I think the reason why is because he said that there was another shooter, and you can't 100% prove that there wasn't, so they wouldn't have given him.
Oh, what a bastard.
Yeah.
So, sorry, quickly.
Yeah.
Did they think it was possibly him because of the car? And then when they found the gun and stuff in his house, they were able to put it on him? Because they knew the burned out car was his.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, right. So, yeah.
So how come they couldn't pin it on him just for that?
I guess because when you, like we were saying, so the car's burned, there's bullet holes in it, but how do you prove that? I mean, aside from the size of the caliber, you can't prove that it came from a specific 44. So then I guess you need more evidence, and that's when they were able to,
So it must have been they had his name.
They had the car, they had his name.
Right.
They couldn't do anything.
Right.
He moved away.
Yes. This guy happens to work in his
Yes.
house and find this stuff.
And he's hiding shit in the ceiling, and
Yeah.
then
Okay.
and then there we go.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what it was.
Yeah.
Because when I read that there had been gunshots in the car. I was like, well, that's awesome, but like that's not enough.
Yeah.
Of
Right.
evidence
Oh, for conviction at least.
to even take it to trial.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have pled out. There's no way that a prosecuting attorney would have been like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's no way, you know. Mills appealed in 1992, claiming that the evidence that was seized in his home should be thrown out because there wasn't a warrant when it was initially discovered. He also claimed that the police didn't acknowledge his request for legal assistance. The trial judge ruled that the private citizen was not an agent of the government and that Mills did not request counsel.
Ooh.
He was like, this guy used to be a cop. He's not a cop anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yep. So he was basically doing the whole nobody told me my Miranda rights.
Right, of
Yada,
course.
yada, yada.
Yeah.
That's why I like this guy's kind of a shit because
Yeah.
he's just like grasping at everything.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's a recording, and this is how it goes. 8 p.m., January 5th, Mills is interrogated in the sheriff's office. He's advised of his Miranda rights. At 8:10, Mills signs a form saying that he understood his Miranda rights and that he waived his right to counsel. He then gave a statement in which he admitted to being involved in the shooting death of Officer Martin. However, that's when he dropped the other person's name. Mills signed a second form waiving his Miranda rights at 9:43 p.m., after which he executed a written statement admitting his role in the death of Deputy Martin. And then he completed his written statement at 11:16 p.m. the next day on January 6, 1989. And he signed a third waiver of his Miranda rights.
Whoa.
In which he then confessed in a tape-recorded interview to his role in the murder. So, like, I'm all for, like, false confessions and, like, people being manipulated by the police and that kind of shit. They brought him in at 8, and he signed at 8:10. And then he signed again.
Yeah.
And then he signed again.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't try and get out of it later,
this
man.
motherfucker
No.
gets his Miranda rights 3 times. And he's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm good. Like, I got this. I don't need counsel. I'm so smart. I hide my ski masks in the ceiling.
Yeah.
Ugh. There's like a lot of garbage. And it's not garbage. It's just like boring stuff on Reddit because it's solved. But people are always like, well, why was he in the middle of nowhere? And
Why even shoot the cop?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
What was
here's
that?
why.
Okay.
So this is my theory. First of all, if the money bag was in his car,
Right.
and the ski mask,
Yeah.
the cop would have come over, license and registration, step out of the vehicle because you know he was
Right.
going to be shaking
Okay.
in his boots.
Yeah.
The cop would have found out. There you go.
Yeah.
Or he wasn't just in the middle of a parking lot. He was in the middle of a parking lot in a medical clinic with drugs. It had a pharmacy. Maybe he was going to rob it. You know,
Yeah.
like, and then he walked over and he panicked. Whatever
Yeah.
it
He was clearly doing something fishy.
this guy was doing something and he panicked and he shot this police officer, which
Yeah.
is so awful and
Idiotic.
terrible for anybody that has family or loved ones that are law enforcement officers.
And Stack makes a really good point at the beginning when they're talking about the story about how imagine you are him. He knows who he is. He's a police officer, but they don't know what they're walking up to
and it's the truth.
at
Yeah.
3 a.m. in the dark.
It really
Oh,
is.
I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
How scary that must
I don't
be to
know how
approach
they
a window.
do that
Yeah.
by themselves. Like at least if with backup you would feel a little more comfortable. But
Yeah, but
they're
those guys, those
often
stadies,
alone.
they're by themselves.
Yeah.
so
Well, and
brave.
also Mills, so this harkens back to Gretchen Burford.
Yeah.
Mills was in town visiting family. So he didn't even live there.
Yep.
Mills, a true sweetie, has been trying for parole since 2010, but he killed a police officer,
No.
so he can go fuck himself.
For absolutely no reason.
Yes, yes. While I was doing my research, there's this really moving website. I have family that is in law enforcement, and currently none of them have to do what Officer Martin had to do, but they used to. You know, it's just part of the way
Yeah.
you work up. And there's a website, and it's called the Officer Down Memorial page. And it is so sad. And you can leave comments. So these are, this is what I'll close out with. These are some of the comments. The best father you could ever ask for. Not only my dad, but also my best friend. I miss you and love you so much. Your son. You were my first love, and I still love you. You will always remain in my heart and on my mind, and you will never be forgotten. That wasn't Tammy.
Oh.
Today would be your birthday. You would be caught up in some slick joke that you started with either a sibling or a fellow officer. You would be told how well you are looking for an old man. But precious brother, we aren't able to do those things because someone decided he needed to rob that clinic.
Oh my God.
And in order to do so, he would take you away from your children, family, and fellow Lee Countians. He couldn't take the love we still have for you. Happy birthday in heaven, precious brother, Geneva.
Sad.
And then I was like, what the? I knew you well. We attended high school together. And even after suffering polio and just having one good arm, you were one of the toughest officers to come up against. You asked for no favors and you gave none. You died as a hero. What more can you ask for? So I can't find.
Wow.
This person's name is John Lee Martin, and he
Right.
lives in Virginia.
Yeah.
His spouse, Tammy Martin. I
Yeah.
couldn't find anything that I can usually dig into.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that he had polio.
Right.
I didn't know that he had one good arm.
Apparently escaped death once.
Yeah. This person was a fighter.
Wow.
Yeah, so I know that we cover a lot of stories on our podcast that involve corruption and misconduct and total just clusterfuckiness. But it's really important to remember that these cases are the outliers and we hear about them because they're not the norm. And the norm is that hundreds of thousands of sworn police officers go out there every day to protect and serve us. And we don't hear about them because they're doing their jobs.
Yeah.
And they don't do it for the money. And in our current culture, they don't do it for the glory. They do it because they choose to do it. And I think it's important to remember that, without order, there's just chaos.
Mm-hmm. Girl.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone's crying now.
That's the end of the segment.
Wow. Good job.
That was so good and so true.
We
Stop talking about it.
we should just guess from here on out.
No, I'll tell you a tale
Oh, tell us. Paint a picture.
of a
please.
mysterious Canadian prospector named Dan Willens. This is the Lost Heirs, and we're recording.
Yay, good job
right.
checking.
Oh, sorry, we didn't ask you.
Oh, wait, you don't want to record this and then have it not record and then have to do it again?
No, I don't. Been there. Okay, so Stack starts the segment with telling us that Dan Willens is one of thousands of men reporting to Canada in the 1920s trying to strike it rich.
That's not the right use of that.
I thought that was weird too. I was
Reporting
like,
for gold
reporting?
duty.
Yeah, no one's requiring you to be
Reporting
here.
for greed.
Seriously. So men would trek through the woods and then settle in rough mining towns such as Haileybury in Ontario.
Halle Berry.
I know, Haileybury,
Oh.
which was spelled multiple different ways everywhere that I read it. Dan Willens became well known in that town by 1925, so people knew who he was. And honestly, that reenactor loved him.
I loved him.
He was so cute and jovial. He had this big bushy mustache. And he was just believable. I don't know. I thought he was one of the better reenactor.
Me too.
Actors.
Maybe they got a bigger actor budget.
Maybe they did.
Maybe they went union. SAG, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So they set this scene with this super cozy reenactment of all these jolly men drinking around a table by lantern light. And over this reenactment, Stack is explaining that the men would basically mine or pan for gold all day and then spend their evenings playing poker together. Stack alludes to the fact that although the men would spend a lot of time together and inform each other of stakes and claims, none of them really knew who Dan was.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, you think, of course they didn't know who he was.
Well,
he was
maybe
my name
he-
is Dan, and they were like, okay.
Yeah, but I think
Maybe he shared less about his life than
Oh,
the other
okay.
Yeah,
guys
that's
did
what
or
they-
something.
that's
He
what-
didn't give his social? I don't understand.
Yeah, no, that's what some of the guys would say. I think because he's saying they all got super close during this time.
Okay.
He never really shared details.
Okay.
They couldn't find his Instagram page anywhere, so it was really
They
hard
kept
to
on
know.
looking.
It's like he didn't even exist.
Oh my gosh. I love that you said that. Okay.
He has an Instagram page.
So now we're going to be introduced to some of Dan Willens' prospector friends. So this is why we love UM, you guys. It's so old that people on this television show were
Oh my
legit
gosh, yes.
prospectors.
I know.
Panning and mining for gold. and they are on the television show.
Oh my God.
That blew my mind for a quick
Me
minute.
too. I was like, wait, they're finding people who are still alive?
Yes. Like,
Oh my
do you guys
God.
know any prospectors?
No.
No.
And honestly, these guys didn't look that bad. I was expecting, well, if they're alive, they're like 110. They didn't
Yeah.
even look
I mean,
that
they were old, and they had funny little old Canadian accents, but
Yes, but
yeah, they were alive.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Prospecting keeps you young, you know?
Apparently. I mean, yeah.
It's gold.
that's what they always
course.
say.
You know the old saying.
So first they talked to Dan's friend Alec Mosher, and he says that Dan was super private and he's not sure if he ever heard him brag about himself or comment about things from his past. And then we hear from Joe Perkin, who is still a prospector at the time of the interview. Like, that's what it said below his name. Yeah, still prospecting in the 80s, I guess. He says that Dan was a gentleman's gentleman and always well dressed. He says by his walk and stance, he'd take him to be a military man. So this is where I had to really quickly think that maybe this is a time travel segment and Dan Willens is actually D.B. Cooper. Right?
Ooh.
Oh, I like it.
Sounds familiar.
I'm sure the internet agrees with you.
Dan had a partner named Bill Koshner. I wrote it out phonetically, but I still don't know.
It still doesn't matter because
know.
when you write it out phonetically, you're saying it.
Yeah.
It isn't like you get to
Yeah.
Google it. It's just you're guessing.
Totally.
But
I
then
know.
writing it out
That's what
phonetically.
we need is a tool to like pronounce these names for us. One night, another miner pulled out a map and told them about Red Lake, which was 50 miles to the west. The guys said he had staked out claims and we've got some real good showings. So Willens was like, Avi, we should go there because money's honeys.
Multiple monies.
So many monies.
So Willens and Koshner trek into the snowy-ass Canadian woods with a couple of backpacks. And in the reenactment, I don't know how real this is, but they literally have a tent that's just made of like tree limbs and burlap.
It's my actual nightmare.
And it's snow.
Same, girl. Same.
They journey for a month this way.
No.
Canada is so fucking cold. It's so
How did
cold.
they survive? Seriously.
I do not understand.
I don't know. I think they cut open deer and like crawled inside of
Oh,
them.
just like Star Wars. Just like Luke Skywalker.
yeah.
Ew.
Or that book by Jack London.
Oh, gosh.
White
Cry of
Fang.
the Wild? Oh, yeah. Cry of the Wild? What's that?
Call of the Wild.
Okay.
So once they get to Red Lake, a month later, they stake out several claims. And finally, one day, they see gold in their pans. From there...
I really thought you were going to say pants, too.
also, the whole time, it was in their pants.
It was in there the whole time. They were like, it's really heavy. I'm having so much
I don't know
trouble
why
walking.
these pants won't stay up.
But I don't expect that you researched this, but the guy that came to where they originally were and was like, I've staked out some claims. How does he do that without people like going in and just getting the gold from there while he's gone?
That's what
There
I was
must be some
wondering.
kind of code, like that's really not okay and people respect it, but it seems like it would have had to have happened.
The only thing, okay, first of all, maybe Canada, it's more polite than we are. Yeah.
They're like, excuse me, is this your gold?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But the only thing I know about that is deadwood. And actually, literally, they would just fucking kill the person.
Yeah.
Like,
But,
if you came back into town and you were like, I have a ton of gold, like, they would be like, sweet, and like slit your throat and then go get it.
Exactly. Or like people who were there while that guy's away who's like, I've staked out claims. Why wouldn't they just be like dinking around with his stuff while he's gone?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you needed people to come and help you pull it out. Like,
Well,
once
that's what
you
I
were
was-
like, there was a lot there.
Yeah, and maybe like nobody had really seen that area yet, and so
Well, that was a big thing too, like getting there first.
I
Yeah.
just imagined like literal stakes in the ground, like, this is mine. Willens,
it just
don't
says mine
touch
on it,
Listen,
Not
if-
even a name.
If Christopher Columbus could do it, anybody could do it.
right? You just say it's yours, and
It's just
then it is.
a stake with dibs on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So from there, one of Canada's most profitable gold mines springs to life. They later name it the Koshner-Willens Gold Mine. It draws $45 million worth of gold at that time, which was worth $1 billion during the UM segment airing, and is currently now worth.
Do you even know how high the number is?
What's a number?
I do, and I hope I'm reading it right.
How many zeros?
How many zeros?
Well, I didn't put the zeros. I put the exact amount, but
Okay,
it's
okay.
Do it.
3 sets of zeros after the number.
Trillion?
Is that a trillion? I
don't
That's
know.
a billion.
I think it's a billion.
Okay. So 2 billion, 29 and some.
Oh, that's it? No.
That sounds right, because everything from the 80s is about double now.
I love you. You're like, is it quadrillion?
Is it infinity money?
Yeah, it's just quadro millions. So it's very profitable. But
that's an understatement, KB.
Dan didn't really care about running a super profitable mining company. What he really liked to do was pan for gold. So Dan would much rather strain his back and shoulders all day kneeling in the river with cold hands.
Nightmare.
But no thanks, not in this cozy obsessed room. So Dan...
She brought slippers and socks this time.
Oh my
not
God.
even kidding.
She's never going to make it in the Canadian wilds.
No.
No, we're not going on a field trip there. I've already put my foot down.
Hopefully,
your cozy foot.
very softly on a soft slipper.
So he was in it for like the adventure.
Yeah,
the, like
Dan
adrenaline.
just loved panning.
So cute.
Dan loved panning.
So he loved panning so much that he would go off for a few months at a time by himself into the woods doing God knows what all day with those damn pans.
No.
Stack says there was another side to Willens, though, and the way he described this is the best, so I'm just going to straight quote Stack. He said, every autumn he'd take over an entire floor of the elegant King Edward Hotel in Toronto, wax his mustache, and entertain his friends with lavish amounts of champagne.
I love it.
I love
it so much.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
So in the reenactment, there he is with his like little bushy mustache
Yes.
all waxed into a little handlebar, wearing a tuxedo, drinking bubbly.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
So it's like for 1 month every year, he's just like, what up?
Each autumn, he would go and do this.
Every autumn.
Dream.
But he would go back out in the winter.
And get an entire floor of a hotel for his friends to just hang out and party.
Oh, I want to be friends with them.
Me too. I want to be friends with anyone that can do that.
Well,
Karlin's like, well, no one. Bye. Karlin's like, well, no one would want to be friends with you that could do that. So bye. All of your friends are pores.
oh God.
Pores, multiple pores.
Multiple pores. So his buddy Alec Mosher says Dan just had this whole social life no one knew anything about and that he loved life. Stack says Willen lived the double life for multiple years. Then one day, Dan went out on a prospecting trip and just never returned. His partner, Koshner, I think after several weeks, finally realized he wasn't coming back and went to search for him.
Oh, they must have been like besties.
I know.
After all that time, and the fact that they both made that money together and no one like ripped anybody off.
Yeah,
or,
they
like,
shared a damn mine together.
Yeah.
And they lost their damn minds.
Mines.
Jesus Christ.
He goes to his cabin in the woods and basically looks in there and nothing's out of place. It doesn't look like he packed up and left. He starts to think that Willens might not ever be found. People thought that he had likely gone out alone, gotten lost in the woods, and died there. But his buddy Joe Perkins says that Dan was a good bushman and very strong.
That's what she said.
Yes. And we have our episode title.
Good bushman. So he doesn't think for 1 minute that he could have been lost because he literally did this all the time.
Yeah, that's a
he knew
silly
how
theory.
to survive. He says that he actually thinks that he went back and took his place in his social life. Another theory is that Dan was killed after a poker game and that his body was thrown down an abandoned mine shaft.
Okay, that escalated quickly.
Kind of a specific theory.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder if this was a common occurrence among miners. And there was a quote. He said, if he got into a poker game, it's just hard to say what might have happened, said Mosher. Money and losers don't work too well together, especially if they lose their money, eh? And he was a good poker player.
Love it.
Also,
Good
oh, okay, I get it. Never mind.
I think it's possible. They've got guns, they're drinking, they're greedy.
Just watch Deadwood. It is a mess.
Right?
It's
I
so
haven't
good.
watched it.
It's one of my favorite shows in
What
the history of
channel is that
television.
on?
HBO. You rich bitch.
I have access.
You have access. You're special.
I still don't.
At this point, Stack tells us that as of the airing of UM, Dan still has not been found. We only have a few clues. The first one was that Dan, quote, appears to be from England. I don't know what that means. Two,
Yeah, because in his, obviously it's not the real him, but they never talked about him having an accent, an English accent, and he doesn't speak in one.
Right.
That's the only thing they say at the end. He appeared to be from England.
Yeah. The second one was that he was a skilled horseman and skilled at cards. The third, he never married. And the fourth, one prospector believes he may have had a sister in England.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all we know.
It's going to be hard to find.
So the money is being held by the Public Trustee of Ontario and is worth $100,000 in times, which is just under $203,000 today.
Oh, so I guess his friend got the other billion.
Well, Willens also owns half the shares of the Koshner-Willens mine, and his prospector partner brought back most of the shares 7 years after Willens vanished.
Okay.
Those shares would be worth $850,000 in 1943, so $12,367,000 today.
I love that you have to pause before you say a number because we've never seen numbers that big.
Literally can't compute that much money.
We do not understand. We're like, how many zeros is a billion? Like, we're so fucking not
come
that
into
rich.
play in my life.
We're
No.
so unrich that
my
we have
gosh,
no
yeah.
idea. We have no vocabulary for this.
God.
You're both taking drinks right now. I love it.
So Terry Howes, a tracer of missing heirs in Toronto, learns that Dan Willens' name may not be Dan Willens. They think his real name was Dalton Thomas Willens. He says there might be heirs. He might have heirs in Britain or the U.S. He estimates that if an heir turns up, the estate could be worth $3 million in 1989 times, depending on the interest.
Which is $25 billion today.
Yeah, 605 million thousands. So, okay, update time.
Who
Stacks,
got that money, honey?
Well, this is the update that was on UM.
Oh,
So you already saw this at one point.
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it?
I was trying.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I had a rough week.
Stacks
Oh, it's
says,
fine. I didn't finish. Keep going.
you guys just don't even watch it anymore, do you?
Well, it's just like if it's a treasure segment, I'm like, Karlin's just going to tell me what happened.
It's fine. She'll tell me what happened.
You're the professional treasure teller.
So on the segment, Stack says that within days of the broadcast, Davy Willens, a New York businessman, calls the 800 number and says he may be one of the heirs to the Willens fortune.
Dream.
He says his grandfather came from the UK to Ontario in 1895 when he was 11 years old. They believe he traveled with another family member and they'd also been told there was a cousin somewhere in the outback of Ontario, but that there was never any contact with that individual. So when Davy saw this Unsolved Mysteries show, as he calls it, he started matching up the stories. He says it certainly was an exciting possible link to our family tree searching.
I thought he was
Just the family tree searching. He's like,
Yeah,
get
he's
that
like,
money.
I can't wait to learn more about my heritage
Yeah.
in Canada. Get the
The
fuck out of here.
billions of dollars or TV show fame obviously had nothing to do with that excitement.
Also, if you're calling someone a New York City businessman, he probably works in fucking finance.
Yeah,
Oh.
he's already rich.
He's already rich.
I'll tell ya. So Davy flies out to Toronto to meet Joe Perkin, one of Dan's last surviving friends. And Davy shows him pictures of his grandfather Harold Willens and his great-grandfather John Willens to see if there's a family resemblance. Perkin, who, do you guys remember him?
No.
He was the old glasses
Yes.
man. Perkin says it's uncanny, the
Yes.
similarities in the face. They show the three family members side by side, and we'll put that on our Instagram.
It's right there.
Perfect.
Oh, for us.
Because I didn't
Yeah.
pull it up. I meant to show you guys.
I
don't know.
I didn't see it as much. So are they saying Dan would be John's son and Harold's brother?
I'm not sure.
I just see I just see old timey guys.
Is Harold this Davy guy's grandpa that he's saying moved?
And then John would be the great-grandfather.
Dan would be Harold's cousin.
I guess so.
Yeah, because he's saying there was a cousin somewhere in the outback.
Right.
So it's like they're hunting for a resemblance, but I don't look nothing like my cousins.
Yeah.
No, my cousins,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they look nothing like me.
Nope. Yeah.
So
I thought they
so-
were brothers.
And he says, I think if you took the beard off the old man, they'd look like twins. That's definitely a bit of a stretch, but I don't know.
It's nice though that he wants it to be somebody instead of being like, no.
Right. And I mean, that's a shitty picture. It's
Yeah.
super overexposed. He knew him in person. Who knows? Maybe he can see something we can't. Okay, so back to Davy saying, certainly money is important to everybody. And if the Ontario government is holding considerable assets that could rightfully be claimed by a Willens, then I'd like to see that happen.
I'm sure you
Of
would.
course
Oh,
you would.
Really? Oh, wow.
He says it may not be him, but it could be other family members that come forward and that they will certainly take the next steps to make that a possibility.
Oh, I'm sure they certainly will.
At the end of the last update, have you noticed they've been doing 2 updates now on some of them?
Well, it's because of the way Amazon Prime re-edited it.
I guess. Oh, okay. So that second
I
one was
didn't
maybe
notice
from
the
another
second.
episode.
Oh.
The second update says that Davy hopes to find DNA matching Dan Willens
yeah.
on some of Dan's old belongings to prove the family connection.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Science is the best.
Now, my research. First, a little bit about the mine. The Koshner-Willens gold mine was active from 1939 to 1971. There's also now a community within the municipality Is that right? Municipality of Red Lake in Ontario called Koshner. There's a historic cabin there built by Bill and Ed Koshner that you can stay in. So we're going to go there on our field trip.
Clearly.
I'm going to be too cold.
Oh, you'll be not cozy. I know. I found one article in the Northern Miner from October 1988. So this actually was before the UM segment came out.
I'm sorry, was Northern Miner a magazine in 1988?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Amazing.
Or a newspaper.
Oh, even better.
But it provides a little extra detail. It's focusing on the research done by Terry Howes, who was the guy in the segment who researches the lost money, basically.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a few things in there that I thought were interesting. Howes' research did take him to England, and there he found birth and marriage registrations that he believed to be those of Willens and his sister, Clara. He found information on where Willens was born in England, and also that he most likely had at least one brother as well. He also found that Willens actually was their real family name, so that part was true. The article says Perkin subscribed to the theory that Willens was a remittance man. Do you know what that means?
No.
So this was a term that was used to mean basically the black sheep of the family who would be sent to a foreign country rather than bring his family's name into disrepute.
Wow.
Do you think he was gay?
Oh, I don't know. And it says, and who would receive remittances or money from his family. So they would basically pay someone to go live far away.
Like I was
Oh
thinking.
my gosh, that is so horrible.
Yeah. I don't know.
He says there must
I
have
live
been
far away from my family. Nobody fucking pays me.
But nobody sent you away because they don't like you.
this would be purposely like, we'll pay you to go not live here. He says there must have been a half a dozen remittance men in the area. So apparently a lot of the miners were remittance men.
Yeah, so no wonder they kind of bond together and stuff too.
Yeah, totally. And just as an aside, in my family in Sweden, we had somebody like that.
What?
The family basically was like, go. You have to go away.
What did you do wrong?
There's a lot of stuff in there. They like in the family history stuff that my aunt had, it said he was a playboy and like all these other weird things.
I didn't know this.
You got a girl pregnant?
Yeah. Who knows?
Or a boy?
Or like you said, maybe gay. Who knows? I think there's a lot of reasons they could be like, please go live somewhere else.
Can you imagine?
No.
People still do that shit today.
Yeah, that's true.
Fucking assholes.
Yeah. There's a little bit more info on the theory that he could have been killed after a poker game. Apparently, he would keep a lot of money in his money belt during the games, sometimes up to $1,000 on him at a time, which in today's money would be $18,000.
Oh my God, I want $18,000 on my body so badly.
Right? I'll get you a belt, and you can put your $1 in there.
We just got to get that sweetheart swindler on our side.
Yeah, seriously.
An Ontario provincial police investigation of the case is reported to have come up with nothing because the police reports had, quote, apparently been destroyed. There were some mentions of Dan in newspapers in the UK, but nothing that provided info on heirs. So then I looked into Davy Willens, the guy from the episode that was trying to claim the estate. Davy lives in Morris Plains, New Jersey with his wife.
What up?
Do you know where that is?
Yeah, my ex-boyfriend lived there.
Oh,
Good or bad?
Good.
I'm pretty sure they had 3 children. Davy, at one point, was the senior director of global business management at Pfizer in 2000.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where that's located.
So I
that
looked
area.
up a current salary for a position similar to this.
Oh,
And let's
nice.
just say that Davy is not a middle-class American.
No, he's rich.
He also later moved to another pharmaceutical promotional plan company based out of Dubai. So,
No.
money.
Get in here.
Bye.
So I found Davy on Facebook. He's 77 now, and he very abruptly stopped posting in March of 2017, which made me think he died. But I can't find anything on his death. He's still listed as alive in a few different places.
Maybe it got weird, though.
Or I thought maybe he got sick or something.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh. That's what you mean by
Being
weird.
sick is so weird.
I took a look at his Facebook page, and
Oh, don't tell us. Just
he's a big
skip
old Trump
it.
supporter.
Of course he is.
That's literally like the only thing I can tell you about him because that's all he posts about. Ridiculous right-wing videos, articles, praises Trump several times on his page. He also follows organizations such as FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform. So you better believe he wants to build the wall. He loves the wall.
Well, he has a lot of money, so start building a wall around your dick.
Oh my God.
You really saved that.
You really let us hang on that one. Oh my God.
Oh, good save. Good save.
So there's one other very odd social media presence for Davy, and it is an Instagram account. And it's super weird. His handle is Davy Peaches.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No.
And I'm going to show it to you. It's just very
Is
weird.
it public?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's only a few posts. One of which is his face superimposed on a peach. This is his granddaughter, which made me think, okay, this is a real post.
Davy Peaches, that has to be a fake account.
The third image is a picture of Dan Willens, and he says, #MCM Dan Willens.
What does that mean?
Man Crush Monday.
And then there's a comment.
That's a fake account.
There's a comment from someone named Dan Willens, and it says, "Davy Peaches, kissing butt won't convince me to give you my gold."
Oh
Then
my gosh, I
there's
love it.
multiple other posts with reference to Dan Willens. There's a comparison photo between the two, saying, "Come on, Dan Willens, can't you see the resemblance?" Dan Willens comments back, "None whatsoever."
Oh my God.
So
Wait,
then I
so
looked at
people
Dan's-
are hard trolling this guy on...
Let me show you Dan's real quick. Picture of Davy Willens. "All I want for Christmas is you to go away and stop trying to find my gold."
Oh my gosh, who
It
made
is
this?
so
Who is
weird.
trolling him like that? That's his
Second one, a picture of stacks of boxes of peaches, and it says, "If you're having gold problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 peaches, but Davy Peaches ain't one." #diss track, #rap battle, #Dan versus Peaches, #Peaches got no flow.
Oh no.
And then Davy Peaches comments,
Okay,
"Dem
here it
bars."
Oh my God. You beautiful, beautiful.
Isn't this fucking weird? Okay, and then the last one I want to call out. There's a picture of Maury reading like a results card, and it says, "The results are in. Davy Peaches, we are not related. #sorry, not sorry."
Why the
Why
peaches
are they-
thing though?
Well, I think he coaches like one of his grandchildren's
Parsippany, it says.
teams called the
picture.
Peaches.
That might be his face. Is that his face?
Which one?
This has got to be messed up somehow.
I don't
This
know.
one?
Old people are weird looking.
Yes, that's messed up.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
It's so weird. So yeah, there's just like multiple
wait a
comments
minute.
between
At
the
some
two.
point, this segment devolved into like total insanity
Yeah.
and Dadaism. Like, what is?
I know.
So somebody set up a fake account.
And I
for
think
this
it's probably
person.
someone in the family. And I think it's like a joke between the family members that he's
Well,
still
then they shouldn't make it public.
probably not.
That's the
Yeah.
thing about you funny baby boomers. You got to make your funny accounts private.
It's so weird, but
Wow.
Still
this
alive,
is delightful.
bitches.
isn't that weird? I just couldn't even
No,
believe it.
the
I was like, who
99
took the
problems
time to
thing
do
is
this?
everything.
It's so funny.
Oh my God.
So, okay, so then I looked up the Public Trustee of Ontario where unclaimed estates in Ontario would be kept. There's some info on there about unclaimed estates that no will was written. And basically, you have to prove your relation to the deceased to claim their estate. And
Yeah.
I don't believe that Davy Willens was ever able to do that. Kind of confirmed by that Instagram account that shows he's still
Yeah.
trying to claim it. I did write to them to ask if anyone has ever claimed the estate, but I haven't heard back yet.
Oh, they didn't think you were with the media.
I will see if I get a response. I will give an update.
Yay.
I couldn't find anything anywhere on the internet about where Dan ended up. So I'm more inclined to think that he did die all those years ago.
Sorry,
What are you finding?
I'm looking through the Instagram
is
now.
I know.
Stop.
Isn't it weird?
Okay, so absolutely, because this is a public account, we can totally direct the people
Yes,
listening
we
there.
will.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
well,
sometimes we
can
have to
tag
be
'em.
careful, but yeah, we
No,
can.
it's fine. These are just fake. Oh man, KB, good find.
Isn't that
What a
just
delight.
ridiculous?
This just turned in a way that I couldn't
And
be
if
more
someone,
grateful for.
If someone loves this case, if it's not a family member and someone loves this case this much
That they made
this, they need to be our number one listener and they can come on the podcast.
Yes,
yes.
And like, I love them so much.
I know.
Who
I
are
just think
you?
it's hilarious that someone
Contact
did that.
us. Love it. Fabulous.
So, and I also couldn't find anything on Dalton Thomas Willens, which was Dan's real name. So I think if someone had claimed it by now, we would have heard about it because this estate is pretty well known.
Okay, that's so weird that I was like, they couldn't find his Instagram.
I know. That's why I was like, ha! When you
You're
said
like,
that.
joke's on you.
Yeah.
Weird.
So, moral of the story. Davy Willens is an old, rich, Trump-supporting white dude, and I hope he never gets his grubbies on that fortune.
Get your grubbies off of that.
And
But we're also not super political, so.
so that's it.
Great job.
Oh my
I
God,
loved
that was
so much.
so fun.
Good.
That's what this epi needed.
Newport Beach, the pool house, Captain Oates, Chino, ew. I'm Michelle.
I'm Liz. And I'm Ingrid. And we're
Let's Talk OC. We're the ladies that brought you Tree Hill Talk, and now we are on the West Coast talking about the early 2000s teen drama, The OC.
Join us every Monday as we watch and review each episode. We hope you can join us.
So, we have things to share, things to feel. I was sick this week and watched a whole season of one of my favorite shows ever in one day. And Karlin also watched it because we share a Netflix password, and I could tell someone else had watched
And I
it.
probably watched it in 3 days, and that was me telling my husband,
Surprising.
we have to save some for later.
Yeah. It's Russian Doll, everybody. If you haven't watched it, it's so good.
Yes.
Like, I'm probably going to go home and rewatch it.
Natasha Lyonne, a queen.
A queen, that wig. I want it. I need it.
That's her
Oh,
hair.
that's not a wig.
Yeah, that is a
honey.
wig. I looked it up. Natasha
It's
Lyonne,
so good.
so good.
Such a creative idea. It's so visually pleasing. It's got everything. It's really good.
Yeah, highly recommend. And then I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast, and people have probably also already watched this because it's been out for a while, but Karlin's story about Dan Willens and mining reminded me of the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which is the, I think, Netflix special by the Coen brothers, like different episodes or kind of episodes, all one thing, but it's so good. And one of my favorite stories in it is about a gold miner panner guy who I think is played by Tom Waits, but I might be wrong.
What?
Wait, I should
How have I
fact
not
check
heard
that.
of this?
You haven't heard of the ballad?
I've heard of the
No,
show, and I know that it's basically like
Yeah.
a collection of visual short stories, which I love. But I did not know
Oh, girl,
Tom
you will
Waits
love it.
was in it.
He's in it. Oh, it's just so good. You must watch. Yeah, it's him. Tom Waits, a relentless prospector.
Wow.
So I also recommend that. That's all.
I feel like saying my thing now is just weird.
It's
I
not
don't
weird.
think so.
All right, well, I have a feelsy and a sharesy. Someone that I was very good friends with passed away this week after fighting cancer for years and years. She was quite young to pass away, and she has left behind a husband and a young son. And I guess that's all I have to say about it.
We can dedicate this episode to her.
Yeah. So this is for Diane. You were awesome. She was a true broad, and she would be very happy to hear that compliment. So, yeah. And I'm happy that a lot of us are getting together to have a memorial service for her, and
That's great.
just love someone you love, and then love them a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And like we said, this is just part 1 of episode 14. So our next part 2 of episode 14 will cover the last 3 cases in that ep on on Amazon Prime. So if you happened to pause halfway and then are going to watch the other ones along with us, those are a wanted segment, and the victim in that is Chuck Kernigan, and then a child kidnapping, which should be real pleasant, / wanted segment, and that's Michaela Joy Gerecht. Is that how you say it, you think? And then we ended off with a haunting
Thank God.
of the home of Jim and Kay Tatum. And let me tell you, some good stuff in there.
Can't
Real
wait
good
for your
stuff.
first ghosty.
We haven't
I
had a
also can't
ghosty in
wait.
so long.
And this is my first ghosty.
It's going to be so good.
As we've said before, if you like our podcast and have a friend or two that you think would as well, please tell them about us. Tell them about our Facebook information and Instagram information. It's fun to have our community spreading, just like a virus. So, just like flu season.
Like the good kind.
yeah.
like a happy
You
virus.
know, those great ones
Like-
we love.
Joy? Is that a virus?
And then go to patreon.com/Resolved Mysteries Podcast if you're interested in joining us over there. And if you're interested in other ways to support the show, you can go to resolvedmysteries.com/support. And then send us your ideas for short stack episodes. If you want to email us your favorite unsolved mystery story or cold case or any nostalgia you have surrounding the show, we'd love to read it on a short stack. So our email is resolvedmysteriespodcast@gmail.com. You can email us there. You can also send us a real life letter or anything else at our P.O. Box, which is 14005, Portland, Oregon, 97293. Instagram is at _solved mysteries, and Twitter and Facebook is at Resolve the Pod. And then subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, leave a 5-star review. And for every review this month, we'll be donating $1 to LGBT Youth Line Toronto. Thank you. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Actually, 1 week if you're counting a short stack.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You lucky ducks.
You don't have to wait so long anymore.
Ooh. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to make it sound so casual.
You are so bad at trying to sound casual.
I know.
It is like, I die a little inside every time you try.
Okay, I'm ready.
I would rather you just like spoke like,
yeah.
I'd rather you just spoke like a fucking robot.
Okay, I'm ready. Okay.